Hey, Brad Pryor here with Get Branded, with Garth Gardiner today, and we're going to talk about your life and your attributes and all the good things that you've accomplished, and good and bad.
My attributes.
I was talking to you before we got started, and you called around asking about you, and just seeing the things that if there's any dirt or anything bad I need to know about. And believe it or not, it was a very shallow grave. So
I've been working at it. Get it deeper.
I talked to Brock with Oswood Farm. He said, well, the good thing is you two have a lot in common. So there's no gray areas. You're black and white. So you're either there or you're not. So it's a good thing to know.
My wife says the same thing. There's no gray area. It's either black or white. Sometimes it's I'm a little brutally honest, but I am who I am, and I think that's who's made me who I am, and as a husband and a father and person, friend. I've always just believed that you just shoot from the hip, and sometimes that gets you in trouble, but more than others, other times it's you're just real, and I've always just tried to be real, and I've been in the horse and cattle business my entire life, and that's the way I was raised, is just to be honest and with people, and my dad always said treat customers like you want to be treated, treat people like you want to be treated, and that's kind of always the golden rule that I've lived by.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people, and I don't do politics on this particular podcast, but when I start talking about me as a person, I always call myself a realist. I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican. I'm a realist. I'm about what's best for our country, our kids, our grandkids, generational support from our government. But a lot of people don't know what that means, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with saying that, because I feel like everything I deal with is real. It's not, and anything that I put out there is real. I don't just camouflage stuff to get through that kind of political stuff, so to speak. So would you feel like you're about the same with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I lean on the conservative side of politics, but sometimes I think that gets a little overblown too. I think our country is so divided right now with politics. I don't think being in the middle is always a bad thing, but I think standing on your foundation and your beliefs is also good too. And I think we've seen a real within the last month, especially with the whole Charlie Kirk situation, we've seen a real switch in the dynamic of conservatives and Christians, finally just saying, enough's enough. We've had enough of your BS, and we're gonna stand up for what we believe in, and I don't care if it hurts your woke agenda.
Right.
There's two ways to believe. And I can respect your decision if you'll respect mine, but the other side doesn't respect. It's either their way or no way. And I think as a whole, as a country, we'd be better off if we were more like Charlie Kirk, in that a lot of people think that he was divisive and things. And everything I've seen about him and I'll be honest, I didn't know him from Adam.
Right.
Until he was assassinated, and then I've watched thousands of reels, and he always respected everyone else's opinion. But on the other side, it's like, well, I'm going to be this, and if you don't like it, then I'm going to hate you, and I'm going to ostracize you, and I think you just got to respect your fellow human being, and I've got friends that are black, white, Asian, gay, straight, Christian, agnostic, and I respect them all.
Right. And that's pretty much where I'm coming with being a realist. Is that standpoint. Is I have friends that they listen to my beliefs and I listen to theirs. We're still friends.
And you respect them for both.
Respect, right.
Yes,
because the biggest thing I want to accomplish when we're talking about this kind of stuff is Charlie in particular. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a son. He's a real human being. Husband. All those things, we're all those things. We need to think about that before we start making a cast of judgment towards how we're going to do our actions, is how I feel, is because that's a big thing. To think about that, you're a human being.
Yeah.
And
just because you believe in a certain way, or you have a certain value, doesn't mean I'm going to come shoot you.
Sure. Right, and that's basically the nuts and bolts of it all. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, there's such a dark side in our country right now. It's like, man, come on. I mean, it's okay to have differences. Right. That's what makes this country great, is that we all have our differences and we have the freedom to believe differently.
Sure.
But just because we believe differently doesn't mean I'm going to come, hurt you.
Right.
And I think somewhere in the last 10 years, maybe, you think, our country's just become so divided that it's a one-way street, at least for the other side. I mean, I'm not going to say that conservatives aren't that way too, but I can respect everyone's decisions and their beliefs, and I think that, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I think, having some grace in your life is a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like the last 10 years has been, it's not what America was cut it out to be.
Yeah.
There's countries we're not cared for, but it just doesn't have the feels it had when, before that. And I've had a business for 23 years, and I've seen the dynamics of it grow. And I think one thing that I'm proud of in our Western industry is that we welcome everybody. We don't discourage or discourage, everybody's welcome. And we want to teach new people, because that's what makes our industry grow.
And we respect everybody.
Right, and we respect everybody. Yeah. And all beliefs, and it's like everybody can have their belief, but end of the day, we're still on a horse, or we're still on a bull, or whatever it is. Or
you may be on a bull. I'm not on a bull.
No, I'm not on a bull.
My bull riding career ended early.
Yeah. So anyways, tell me a little bit about your background, how you came up, where you came up from.
I was born in Kansas. I was raised on a purebred Angus ranch in Ashland, Kansas. My great-grandfather homesteaded out there in 1885. My grandfather was born in a dugout in 1885. And my grandfather and my dad actually started the business known now as Gardiner Angus Ranch. And I was born in 1967. Put your pencil to that, figure out how old I am. And went to high school in Ashland, went to college at Kansas State, and graduated from college and went back home and did what I was supposed to do, go back to the ranch like my parents wanted me to, and was involved in our ranch for basically from about 1989 through 2020. Had a marriage that didn't work out. We both went our separate ways, and actually after that, I moved to Nashville and tried to make my way in the music business. And unfortunately, there was another Garth that showed up before I was there, which was a real point of contention with my mother, because they made me change my name, so I had to have a stage name. And she was like, "You tell them that I named you Garth, and you're going to keep your name Garth. I don't give a shit about Garth Brooks." And anyway, that didn't work out. So went back home and actually met my wife Amanda in actually met her before I moved to Nashville, which is crazy. I was singing at the Miss Rodeo Kansas pageant, Dodge City, Kansas, the Dodge City Country Club, and she was a candidate for Miss Rodeo Kansas, and I think that was in 1991 ish, yeah, somewhere in that area. And I moved to Nashville right after that. And she ended up winning Miss Rodeo Kansas, went to Miss Rodeo America, and was I think she was second behind Jennifer Douglas. And so Jennifer Smith, and now he's married to Strand. And so that was in 91, and then went to Nashville, did all that. We don't even want to talk about that. But didn't work out, came back to the ranch, and reunited with Amanda in 1999. And we ended up dating for what would be considered not a very long time. We met again in February and got married in June.
Right.
And we went to the Bob Feist in Reno on June 20th, and on June 19th I asked her to marry me. And on June 20th we got married at Lake Tahoe. Her, me, and a preacher, and then been happily married ever since. June 20th, 99, and here we are now. And we spent first. We have three kids. They were all born and raised in Ashland, They were born in Pratt, actually, and then raised there on the ranch. And went through a period of time where I just wasn't really happy with where I was at. And I could tell my kids did not want to be involved in the family business. And so I made one of the hardest decisions in my life was to step away from multi-generational ranch. And unfortunately, it cost me over my relationship with my brothers. And 5 years ago, we've gone through 5 birthdays, 5 Christmases, 5 Thanksgivings, all the 5. That's almost 6, and I haven't really spoken with them. And that's been hard because at the end of the day, we're still brothers. We're blood, and I feel like at some point in time, I want to mend that bridge. I'm not going to say we're going to be best friends. I'm not going to say that we're going to hang out and enjoy Christmas together, but at least sort of just kind of pass an olive branch and just say I love you, and I'm sorry things worked out the way they did, but they're crazy successful, and I'm proud of what they've done and how they've continued to grow what my great-grandfather started in 1885. And we moved to Texas in 2020. We had a passion for horses. We had our own breeding program there in Kansas, and been crazy blessed, successful by raising a lot of great reined cow horses. And we kind of migrated. We started in the roping, and we kind of migrated to the reined cow horse, and been just blessed to have the success that we've had in the reined cow horse business. And so coming down here in Texas, we've loved every minute of it. We've met great people, and continued to kind of grow our little small business, and seen some changes in that just with how we operate our business. But we kind of went from raising a lot of babies to not raising very many because of some opportunities we had to sell some pretty popular mares. And it was like one of those God things, because it was the hardest thing we've ever done in the horse business was selling some of our best mares. But it was also like God saying, hey, it's time for you to change your focus and focus on your kids, and focus on your each other. And so that kind of changed our trajectory a little bit, even though we're still involved in the breeding business, not near as heavily as we were. But doing, like we talked earlier, being involved in a family business is hard. In a multi-generational family business is hard, because each generation it gets harder. You go from dealing from siblings, brothers, to now you got cousins, and then you're gonna have cousins' wives, and family businesses are hard. And there's the reason why you see ranching operations break up, and that's because my goal was not to break up my family's ranch. My goal was to just take care of my family, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we did. And we came down here, and they still are crazy successful. Obviously, nothing that I did made them successful, but it wasn't like me leaving made crash the business. They're still doing great things, and I'm proud of them for that. But I don't. My family doesn't have to worry about being the any more the black sheep than we already were, because my kids didn't want to be involved, and I didn't want my kids to have to make that decision. So we made that decision for them.
That's the hardest thing to do as a father, is make those kind of decisions. I went through the last year not similar, but with my oldest son, we didn't speak for a year, and recently last week he reached out, and we've made amends. So I know what that feels like in the waiting of that. And that's hard, because the day is going to come where you're going to eventually talk to some degree. And when that starts, it's just, you don't really know what to say. You just feel your way through those conversations. But the waiting time is the hardest thing as a father, is having to be a father, not a friend. His father's first for a friend, and teaching your kiddos that you have to respect themselves and you as a parent.
Tough love.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it was. And he's finally saw the light, and back to square one of trying to figure out how we're going to mend the fences. But it's good to have that feeling of him at least talking, because I do the same thing you're doing. I was counting the Christmases. I was counting the birthdays. He was doing the same.
Yeah.
And it got balled up in him. He finally decided, hey, we need to fix this. And that's a hard thing for a young man to do, to come to your dad. He always felt like he's living in my shadow. It's hard to live under Brad Pryor's shadow. But that's a cop-out for me. Like, I'm not making this hard. You're making it hard on yourself. It's mental. So, we talked through some of those things that got us to that point. But it's good to be back talking.
Yeah, you broke the ice.
Yeah.
You broke the ice, so to speak.
He did.
Yeah. Oh, he reached out to you.
Yeah.
Well, good for him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. As a 20-year-old man.
That takes a lot of courage.
It does. And I'm very proud of him for doing it.
Yeah.
I had my reasons for not doing it first, but they're probably just as hard-headed as reasons why he weren't.
Yeah.
In the end, it all just needs to...
Just pride.
It's pride.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's in every type of culture and every type of mammal. There's pride,
Yeah.
And it gets in the way a lot. But I also feel like it's building cornerstones for all kinds of things that grow as a relationship.
Yeah.
You said something earlier about, people may not know what this is, a dugout. Your great-grandfather or grandfather was born in a dugout. What is that?
Basically just a hole in the ground. It's a dirt house with a grass roof. In 1885, they didn't have wood trusses and concrete blocks,
Right.
or steel,
Right.
after P. They homesteaded there and kind of claimed that land, and then dug a hole in the ground and made dirt walls and a dirt floor and a grass roof, and that's where they lived. And they battled through. The area where they homesteaded was really close to it wasn't Oklahoma. It was called Indian Territory there, and how my great-grandfather made a living was hauling freight for the U.S. Cavalry between Dodge City, Kansas, which is where there was a railroad, and Camp Supply. It's now Fort Supply, Oklahoma, which is where Custer's army was at, or the cavalry. And he would haul supplies between Dodge City and Camp Supply, and Ashland was kind of the halfway point, and so that's why they dug a hole in the ground there and decided That's where they're going to be. And from that point forward, they dealt with all kinds of challenges, from drought to the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, in the 30s, and they that generation, man, they're so much stronger and tougher than we are. I mean, our generation would have quit and moved to LA, or something.
Yeah.
We would have, and they fought through it. They went through losing their, going bankrupt and losing their ground and reclaiming it again, and just figuring out a way to make it work. And that's really the kind of way my parents were also. They were just, they didn't live on borrowed money. They couldn't buy it with, write a check for it, have money in their checking account. They wouldn't buy it. And that's how they didn't always work with me, because I always thought it was all right to get low interest loans.
Right.
But, that was that generation's mentality, was that if you didn't have the money to pay for it, you didn't get it. You worked hard and saved the money to get it. And I wish I had that. I wish I had that trait better in me for several reasons. But now we live quite a bit differently than they did in those generations. But that generation was tough. 2-3 generations ago, they didn't have a lot of things we have today.
No, for sure. And I agree with that. You touched a little bit about the short time between dating and being married the second time. I think that's a common thing a lot of people don't hear about. And I think, is it different because it's the second time, or is it different because of the person?
First of all, I got married too young. Man, I got married. I was like, I ain't going home from college unless I'm engaged or married, because there was nothing in Ashland, Kansas for me. And so I had to make sure I was setting myself up for failure. But, so, I wasn't mature enough. Neither one of us were mature enough to be married. And then after that, I kind of was able to kind of go out and kind of do a lot of dumb stuff, that I needed to do as a single person when I lived in Nashville, and experience that, and then I'm still probably not as mature as I need to be, but I'm probably more mature than I was then. And our relationship is faith based, and we both have strong faith in God, and I'm not going to say that every day is rainbows and unicorns, because we've had our challenges too. And at the end of the day, you have to just base it, go back to that foundation of love, and that that God puts you in your life, in each other's lives for a reason, and then when you have 3 kids, and there's amazing kids that are diverse and talented, but I think the difference, kind of got off the subject, which I can do, is just just maturity, man. It's just I've got a daughter who thinks she wants to get married pretty soon. I'm like, you're not old enough, but she's probably mature enough. But I feel like there's just a certain age and a maturity, the older you get, that you just get a little more experience, and so I think that's probably what's that Amanda and I, we've had some things that, like, if I wasn't mature enough, we'd both left,
Sure.
Just because, screw it, I don't
Right.
deal with this anymore. But at the end of the day, that's not right either. I made a vow to her, and she made one to me, that we're going to stick together. And there's probably been more days when she wanted to leave me than I wanted to leave her. But that's, I think, just the maturation process is probably what's different. Yeah, and then the kids, seeing your kids be successful is, and I don't really feel like I've done anything different, but I just think I'm more mature.
Sure. I can agree with that. I've been married a couple times, so I'm trying to get good at it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying.
Keep trying.
To get good at it. Let's talk about your kiddos individually, because I know they all have different talents and different things. If you don't mind.
No. So we have 3. Our oldest son is Grayson, and he's probably screw these ages up, because I know kind of what their birthdays are, but I don't know what birth date of the year. Grayson's 24. He graduated from Oklahoma State with a sports management degree, and he works for the PGA of America up in Frisco, and he's just killing it. Works in sponsorships and corporate sales, and just got back from spending 3 weeks at the Ryder Cup, which is quite an experience, here in New York. And he's always been a sports kid. He Little Britches rodeoed when he was a little kid, did the flag race, and that was about as far as his rodeo career went. And then he played sports in high school and was a really good basketball player, and actually got the opportunity to be his coach for his 4 years of high school. I was kind of just weird deal. I started coaching high school basketball because I didn't have enough other stuff going on. And a friend of mine asked me if he'd be his assistant coach, and we ended up coaching together for 12 years, just a little local high school deal. And it turned out to be one of the greatest things I've ever done, because I just got to really be involved in young men's lives. And probably the worst thing that ever happened to Grayson was I was his coach, because I was a little bit harder on him than I was on some of the other ones, and some of the things I said in a kind of a bit of rage probably didn't really mean, but I was competitive, and I wanted him to get that fire, and sometimes he was just kind of laid back, and so I got to coach him in high school, and that was fun. And then he went on to college and did great at Oklahoma State, and now's the PGA, and I can't wait to see where he goes with that. Our middle son, Gage, is 22. Yeah, 2003. And he just graduated from TCU this last May. And he's a musician, singer, songwriter, and he's just like paving his own path. Like, I'm so proud of him. He writes songs, plays music, and just taught himself how to play the guitar. And actually, it was the guitar that I had when I lived in Nashville. It's funny, the guitar he learned on. And he's way better than I am, or I ever was. And he's been getting to play a lot around here locally, and going to get to play in Vegas at the NFR thanks to our buddy Bo Gardiner, no relation, and super, just a soft-hearted kid, typical middle child, just loves his mom, loves his country, and loves Jesus, and he's just a good kid, and I'm excited to see where his career goes, because everyone always says, "Oh, he sounds so much like you," or "He's just as good as you were." I'm like, no. First of all, he sounds better than I ever did, and he's a hell of a lot better than I was. And so those two things right there are going to reason why he's going to be successful in the music business. And I really truly believe that. I think God's got a plan for him, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And I'm not going to say every day's exciting, because he has his ups and downs too. You can't get people to call you back. You're trying to get booked into different places. They won't email you, and you're trying to work with booking agents that won't call you back, and so it's frustrating for him. He's 22 years old, and he's doing it all on his own, and he's trying to make it work, and he'll make it work. I mean, he's very driven, and he's very committed to it, and I'm excited to see where that goes with him. And then there's Grace, my daughter Grace,
baby, the baby, and a girl.
Yes,
but I outdid you on that one.
Yeah.
I have twin daughters that were the last. I had two babies after two boys. So it's like, they just turned 18 Saturday. One just won first place today at the Dallas State Fair with her trailer she built in ag.
Heck yeah.
Girly girls.
Yeah.
And
so
welding.
She's a welder.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's the only thing I outdid you on was the babies.
We laugh and we tell Grace it's a good thing she was the youngest, otherwise she'd be an only child.
Right.
Man. She's a handful, but she's 21. She just turned 21, and she has a passion for horses like her parents, and she loves them. And she's done the reined cow horse, and now her passion's barrel racing. That's one of her passions. I think one of her passions is saddle bronc rider, but that's a whole other
Canadian,
podcast right there. Canadian saddle bronc rider, that too, but. No, so she went to college at Cisco College and battled some back issues with her back, and she had a couple ruptured discs, and so that's really kind of been sad for a parent to see that, because she's really talented, but yet there's times when she can't feel her legs, because of her back, and here she is 21 years old and she's dealing with those health issues, but she's still she's fights through that, and we've tried to get her some treatment that helps with that, and continue to have her live her dream as a professional barrel racer. Right now, that's probably not at the top of her list, but she is fortunate to have met a really nice young man from Canada, and we'll see where that goes. I'm just thankful that God put a good Christian man in her life that treats her with respect, and even when she might not act like she deserves it, but she's great. She's super, super talented, just creative and bubbly, and she can go into a crowd of people and just strike up conversation. She's beautiful. Yeah. Fortunately, the damn side of her pedigree, she got the phenotype from her mother, and but no, I mean it's cool because we got 3 kids, and they're just diverse, and they're just every one of them has their own unique talents, and at the end of the day, that's everyone says, "Oh, you guys did such a great job of being parents," and I'll agree with that to a degree, but our kids are good people, and a lot of people are good parents, and their kids turn out to be jackasses.
Yep.
And our kids are good kids, and they're respectful and kind and loving, and I think they'll each make great spouses, and I hope, and great parents. And if we implanted some of that into them, then great, good for us. My wife's awesome. She's a better parent than I am, but I have to think that I did a little bit of that too. So yeah. I'm hopeful. But so now our kids are, you you go through life, and at the end of the day, you just want to be able to leave the world a little bit better than how you found it. And if we were to leave tomorrow, I mean, I think we've added three individuals that will make their way in our society and be good people for it.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people ask me, what are your accolades, or what do you pride yourself on, your accomplishments in life? And I said one of them is that my kids all can take care of themselves. My goal is to live long enough. I know it sounds terrible. Live long enough to make sure that they can take care of themselves. I failed them if I didn't. So that's a big thing to me. And also, I've taught them, I don't care what you're doing for a living, as long as you're not taking, you're giving from our society. That's a big important thing to me. And they've all mastered that to some degree. And
you enjoy, and they're passionate about what they do.
Yes, 100%. And and I've had both my boys work for me. They don't work for me no more. I went through all that kind of stuff with them. And when they worked for me, they didn't work for me. They worked for my GM or supervisor. I never let Dad be the person that managed that. But I've also learned you can have two identical twins, and they act totally polar opposite. Look just alike.
Even though they were raised in the same womb.
Same womb.
Same egg.
Same age. So, parents that are fighting that diversity with their kids or fighting problems with kids, it's not necessarily always the parent or the kid. They're just figuring out life. And when they figure it out, everything's amazing. My girls did it when they're 12 and 13, and I had to get them through all that when they're going through all their changes in life. And but now, they're like my best friends. I feel like all my kids, I can call them and chat with them about anything because I raise them like adults.
Yes, sir.
Which comes back to haunt me every once in a while. I get a little lippy. But anyways, I feel like that's a big thing to accomplish for the kiddos, that they can take care of themselves.
You said something. I think something that is so important in a family business is that if your kids want to come back and work in your business, that they go work somewhere else before they come back. And I always thought that was a good principle. And I've heard of people in the ranching or just whatever business it is that, we want to go back and work in our family business, but my parents won't let me. They want me to go work for someone else. That does so many things. That makes you such a better employee or a better part of that business when you finally do, go back to the family business. And I think people ought to make that mandatory, that if you want to come back and you want to work in this family, that you go work, let's say you're a ranch, you go work for another ranch, or you go work in agriculture, or you go do this, and then after so many years, then you can come back. But until you do that, you're not going to come back.
Right.
I think if more businesses in ag would do that, and maybe any business for that matter, just anytime you work with family business, I think it just should be mandatory that you have to go work for someone else.
I agree.
Because I think it would help prolong that generation, that because I think you just appreciate those businesses more when you go work for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And my boys, I've told them both, if you're going to work for the company, go work somewhere else. Bring back something that's going to add to the company, not just be fit right back in. Go find something that we don't have. Go work for those people, and if you decide you want to make a career out of it, great. If you don't, and come back and add to our business, that's great. So, leaving that door open instead of shutting it after you do have a fallout, it's a big thing with the kiddos anyway. And they both have done well, taking care of themselves, living on their own. That's an accomplishment at 22 and 20.
That's awesome.
And the girls are 18, and they'll be out going to college.
Sounds like one of them's going to be in the welding shop working for you.
I know. She's a hand, too. And a lot of people don't realize this. Girls are better welders than guys.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Because supposedly they got more patience. Well, I don't know how this one out of the twins is the meanest one and the most hard-headed, so maybe that's why she's making a hand weld.
So she doesn't have to wear a welding helmet? She's so tough, she just wears sunglasses?
Yeah. That was a new thing last year and just went after it. It wasn't a boyfriend thing. I was blown away because that's my prissy one. That's the one that's the doll of them. Awesome. They're both beautiful, but she's more of the prissy one than the other. An athlete. And that was crazy when she called and told me hey, Dad, I want to build this trailer. I'm an ag mech. I'm like, what? You're bearing your hair. You're in all these things. But
What about your nails?
yeah, that's the next thing, nails. There are no nails. But it's like, they both work at a coffee shop, managing a coffee shop at 18 years old.
That's awesome.
So like things are going well for them. I just told them the biggest thing is not to get hooked on the money when you're working. Don't get your kid, be your teenage self, be your college self, grow up. Don't go to school, do all the things you want to do, whatever makes you successful. Mm-hmm. But don't get hooked. That's what happened to me. I didn't go to college and all that stuff because I got hooked on making money.
Right.
And I want to make more of it. And then next thing you know, I left a lot of my youth behind that I didn't get to enjoy. So I try to really harness on letting them enjoy their youth, not having to work. They want to work.
Yeah, if you have that work ethic, that money will always be there.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be a kid.
Yeah.
You need to enjoy your youth and make mistakes.
If not, you're going to do it when you get older.
Yeah.
Eventually that youth's
really
going to
regret
bubble up. Yeah, even though you can bury it all you want, but it's going to eventually bubble up.
Yes, sir.
And I'd rather them get it over with now.
Yeah.
Than do it on later on in life.
Yeah.
A lot more fun.
100%.
Yeah. So what are you doing currently in the horse market?
We still breed a few. I think it's 4 years ago. I got my NRCHA judges card, and we've always loved showing reined cow horses and being involved in the reined cow horse